Welcome to Revit in Motion, because 2D is just flat. Today I want to talk about planning your model before you start a new project. And for that I don't need Revit at all. I prepared a little presentation. There you go, planning your model. I've been approached by a lot of my colleagues that were new to Revit and they were used to doing things their own way, their old way. And when I approached them and said, look, you can do the same thing in Revit, they were always like, oh, but I don't have time, and I have pressure, I have a deadline looming, and whatever. And I'm just going to use pen and paper. Or, may I say it's SketchUp or Photoshop. Things that they knew. And I would tell them, you can do the same thing in Revit. And they wouldn't believe me. But the point is that when you start a new model, it's important that you ask yourself a few questions so that you don't overdo things, but you don't also you don't underdo things. First question you need to ask yourself: what are the expected results, and who needs information from this model? Do I really need to go into the whole bim shebang? Do I need to define each and every wall with down to the letter and put price tags on it and all the right materials and stuff? So basically, am I going to need this? Am I going to need just a sketch? Or am I going to need this completely done deal drawings with how many walls you have, how many bricks you need? So that should be the first question you ask yourself. Second question: how will this project be presented? Again, what do I need? What do I need? Is it going to be on paper or on a website? Is this going to be just a simple black and white drawing type thing, or are we going to go for full ray tracing renderings, even little films or whatever? Third question is to ask yourself: how many people will be working on this project? Are you going to be by yourself, or is it going to be lots of people? All these will influence on how your project will look in the end, how your Revit model will look in the end. If you're looking for a little quick sketch, you want to just print a few ideas out. Hey, Revit is great. You can do it in 2D and be done with it. And maybe Revit isn't your weapon of choice, but hey, if you start with it, you can actually then go deeper into the project later on and use the information that you've created in the first place. So no need to first do it by hand and then put it in Photoshop and then maybe put it into SketchUp, and finally after the presentation is done and the contract is approved, then you start with Revit. You can start the whole thing with Revit in the first place. It's just be aware you don't need to go as deep as some Revit freaks will let you believe. So there's a few general ideas for me before I start a project. General ideas. Focus on the end product, right? What do we need to get out of it? That's what you put in, no more nor less. GIGO, garbage in, garbage out. If you put garbage in, you won't get anything usable out of it. So beware of what you put in your model, because that's what you're going to get out. Avoid shortcuts. Do it right. It takes a couple of seconds longer, but if you want to draw a wall, draw a wall. Don't draw a ceiling or lines. Please don't use 2D lines. It'll help you in the long run if you just get used to this, and it'll you can use the information you've added now. You can use it later. Use Office standards. Office in parentheses. Use standards. Period. If you want to draw a wall, draw a wall. Don't draw lines, don't draw a ceiling, don't draw whatever. Also, use standard names that you've agreed upon with everybody in the office. Use standard material names that you've agreed upon in the office. Nothing is so frustrating than when you're starting to render and you open your rendering dialog and you find that there's 50 different whites in there. white 1, white with a capital W, white with a capital T at the end, or my all-time favorite, chair or chair leg or something like that. Please don't, right? Think of creative, think with your office, think of standards that you're all going to use and stick to them. Goes with clear documentation. No more words needed, I guess. And most important of all, enjoy yourself. Revit can be fun to use. You'll see what comes out of it is really high quality in the end when you do it right. And yeah, that's my ideas of planning ahead.